It happens to almost all of us. You walk down to the driveway, grab the mail, and find your quarterly 401k statement waiting for you. Or maybe you get that little email notification telling you your digital document is ready to view. You log in, look at that final bold number at the bottom of the screen, and your stomach just drops. A wave of anxiety hits you, and you immediately start wondering, is this normal? Am I doing okay, or am I completely failing at this? If you have felt that sinking feeling, you are definitely not alone. Every single day, the mainstream financial media hits us with terrifying headlines. They shout that you need $2 million, $3 million, or even $4 million safely tucked away just to survive a basic retirement in America. This constant stream of scary numbers does not actually help anyone. In fact, it does the exact opposite. It paralyzes older workers. It makes people throw their hands up in the air and think, why even bother trying to save when the target feels completely out of reach? But here is the honest truth. Those massive headlines are not telling you the whole story. Today, we are looking at the brand new 2026 data. We are going to show you exactly what people in their 50s and 60s actually have saved in the real world. We will look at why those mainstream numbers are incredibly misleading, and we will share the brand new 2026 IRS rules that you can use right now to catch up much faster than you ever thought possible. Let's take a deep breath, relax, and break down the real numbers together so you can see exactly where you stand. Every year, major retirement record keepers like Fidelity and Vanguard release massive reports showing exactly what Americans are doing with their money. The newest data for 2026 is officially out, and it gives us a crystal clear picture of where people stand today. Let us start by looking at the average 401k balances for the folks who are getting much closer to the retirement finish line. If you are currently in your 50s, the data shows that the average American in your age group has a 401k balance sitting right around $237,000 to $246,000. Now, let us bump that up a decade. If you are in your 60s, you are getting right up to the wire. The new 2026 data shows that the average balance for people in their 60s is roughly $257,000 to $269,000. Let us have a completely honest moment. Think about exactly how you felt the second you heard those numbers out loud. If your personal retirement account has significantly less than those amounts, you might have just felt your heart rate spike. You might be feeling a massive wave of panic, thinking you are hopelessly behind everyone else your age. On the flip side, if you have more than those amounts saved up, you might be leaning back in your chair, smiling, and feeling a little overly relaxed about your future. Well, whether you are panicking right now or feeling overly confident, forget those numbers for a moment. Yes, forget them. Because the truth is, looking at the average is an absolute trap. Let's explain the dangerous flaw in this math. Imagine you have 9 regular, hardworking Americans standing in a room. They all have about $50,000 saved for retirement. Then, a multi-billionaire walks into the room with $100 million in their portfolio. If you take the total amount of money in that room and divide it by 10 people to find the average, suddenly, the math says the average person in that room is a multi-millionaire. But we logically know that is a lie. 9 out of those 10 people are not millionaires at all. That exact same distortion happens with the 401k data. A very small percentage of extremely wealthy people with massive account balances pull the average way, way up. This makes the final number look much higher than what the normal, everyday worker actually has in the bank. So what is the real benchmark? What number should you actually care about? You want to look at the median. The median is the exact middle point of the pack. It means half of the people in the country have more than this number, and half of the people have less. It completely cuts out the billionaires who are skewing the data. When you look at the real, everyday median balance for people in their 50s and 60s, it is completely different. The median balance is usually less than half of the average number we talked about earlier. Let that sink in for a second. If you were stressing out and feeling completely behind because you were comparing your life to that inflated average number, please take a massive sigh of relief. You are likely doing much better compared to the typical American than you thought. You are not failing. The math was just playing tricks on you. So, now that we have thrown those confusing average numbers completely out the window, you are probably wondering, what should I actually be looking at? If comparing yourself to the national average is a trap, how do you know if you are personally on track? Here is the secret. Comparing your retirement account to your neighbor's account is completely useless. Your neighbor might still have a massive mortgage while your house is completely paid off. They might have totally different healthcare needs or expensive hobbies or a different lifestyle altogether. The only number that actually matters when calculating your retirement goal is your own personal income. Instead of a single, scary million-dollar headline, the retirement industry uses a much more helpful system. It is called a salary multiplier. This gives you a personal benchmark based entirely on your current age and the amount of money you bring home today. Let us break down the standard milestones that professionals recommend. If you are turning 50 years old, the general guideline is to aim for having 6 times your current salary saved up for retirement. This is meant to cover all your accounts combined, including your 401k and any other investments you have set aside. Now, as you get a bit older, that multiplier goes up because you are getting closer to the finish line. When you hit age 60, the milestone is to have 8 times your current annual salary saved. And finally, when you reach full retirement age around 67, the goal is to have 10 times your working salary safely tucked away in your overall portfolio. Let us walk through a very quick, real-world example so you can see exactly how simple this math is. Let us say you are 60 years old today and you currently make $70,000 a year. To find your benchmark, you simply take your $70,000 salary and multiply it by 8. That means your personal target savings goal right now would be $560,000. You do not need $3 million. You just need a number that replaces your specific income. But here is the most important part. These multipliers are just a loose guideline. They are absolutely not a strict law that you must follow to survive. These benchmarks are built on a very specific assumption. They assume you will need to replace roughly 80% of your working income to live comfortably in your retirement years. But for many of you, that is completely false. Think about your own life for a moment. Are you planning to pay off your mortgage before you retire? If you do not have a monthly house payment, your living expenses will drop dramatically, which means you need far less money saved. What if you plan to downsize to a smaller, more manageable home? What if your spouse has a guaranteed pension from their job that pays a steady check every single month? Or maybe you plan to work a fun part-time job just 2 days a week. All of those real-life factors dramatically lower the amount of money you actually need to pull from your 401k. The beauty of the salary multiplier is that it gives you a starting point, a basic compass to point you in the right direction. But you have the absolute power to adjust it based on your own unique life. You are in control of your retirement, not some arbitrary formula. So, what happens if you just ran your personal salary multiplier and you realize you are falling a bit short? What if your current balance is nowhere near 6 or 8 times your income? If that is the case, take a deep breath right now. Please do not panic and definitely do not feel defeated. The absolute last thing you should do is throw in the towel. Instead of stressing over the past, let's look forward. The IRS has actually introduced some fantastic brand new tools for 2026, specifically designed to help older Americans turbocharge their retirement accounts. If you are 50 or older, you are in the perfect position to use these new rules to aggressively play catch-up. Let us start with the basics. Every year, the IRS sets a strict limit on exactly how much money you are allowed to deposit into your 401k account. For the year 2026, the standard contribution limit has officially been raised to $24,500. That is the base amount that any worker, regardless of their age, is legally allowed to put away this year. But here is where things get really exciting. The IRS recognizes that as you get closer to retirement, you might need to save at a much faster pace. They created something called a catch-up contribution. If you are turning 50 years old this year, or if you are already in your 50s, you are allowed to push past that standard limit. For 2026, the standard 50-plus catch-up amount is exactly $8,000. When you do the math, that means anyone aged 50 and older can contribute the base amount of $24,500 plus the $8,000 catch-up, bringing your total possible contribution to a massive $32,500 for the year. Now, let us get to the absolute best part of the 2026 rules. This is the secret weapon for older Americans, and it is a brand new change created by a law known as Secure 2.0. The IRS realized that the closer you get to retirement, the more help you need. So, they created a brand new tier called the Super Catch-Up Contribution. You need to listen very closely to this specific age requirement. If you are exactly 60, 61, 62, or 63 years old at any point during 2026, you unlock a massive new benefit. Instead of the standard $8,000 catch-up we just talked about, you get a super catch-up limit of $11,250. Let's say that again because the math is incredibly powerful. If you fall into that 60 to 63 age bracket, you can contribute the base $24,500 plus the super catch-up of $11,250. That means you can stash away up to $35,750 this year alone. That is nearly $36,000 of your income that you can shelter and grow completely tax-advantaged in a single year. It is an absolute game changer for anyone who feels like they are running out of time. Knowing these numbers is great, but it does absolutely nothing for your future unless you take action. Do not just absorb this information and move on. Use it. Here is exactly how you do it. The process is incredibly simple. Log into your company HR website or your retirement provider's online portal. You do not need to call a Wall Street broker or fill out a stack of confusing paperwork. Just go into your settings, find the section for your 401k contributions, and adjust your percentage. Even if you cannot afford to max out that full $35,750 limit, simply bumping your contribution rate by 2 or 3% today can make a phenomenal difference over the next few years. You have the tools available to you right now. You just have to log in and use them. Now that we have talked about those incredible new catch-up rules for your 401k, let's pull back the curtain and look at the big picture. One of the biggest mistakes people make is developing severe tunnel vision. They stare at their 401k balance every single day and treat it like it is the only slice of the retirement pie. Fixating on that one specific number causes an unbelievable amount of unnecessary stress. Your retirement is not just one account. It is an entire ecosystem of different assets working together to support you. Let us start with the biggest missing piece of the puzzle that almost everyone forgets to calculate, and that is your Social Security benefit. So many people treat Social Security like it is just a tiny little bonus on the side. But shift how you think about it today. Social Security is a massive financial asset, and it is the foundation of your retirement income. Let's give a very simple example to show exactly what this means. Let us say you run your numbers on the government website, and you find out that Social Security is going to pay you $2,500 a month when you retire. That is $30,000 a year of guaranteed, completely stable income that you do not need to pull out of your 401k. To generate $30,000 a year from your own personal investments without running out of money, you would need to have hundreds of thousands of dollars safely sitting in the bank. So when you feel like your 401k balance is entirely too low, remember that your guaranteed Social Security check acts exactly like a massive pile of cash that is already saved and waiting for you. It drastically reduces the burden on your personal savings. But Social Security is just the beginning. The next major step is to step back and look at your entire household as one complete unit. We often get so hyper-focused on our own personal workplace retirement account that we completely forget about the other money sitting right under our roof. Are you married? If so, you absolutely must factor in your spouse's assets. Even if their 401k balance is much smaller than yours, that money completely changes the math for your household. What about old jobs? Did you or your spouse work for a company 20 years ago that offered a traditional pension? So many older Americans have a small pension waiting for them from a previous career that they completely forgot about. Even if that pension only pays a few $100s a month, that is guaranteed cash flow that takes the pressure directly off your personal savings. You have to add all of these pieces together to see the true picture of your financial health. Finally, we need to talk about what is likely the most valuable asset you own, and it is the one asset that never, ever shows up on your 401k statement. That is your home equity. If you have spent the last 20 or 30 years paying down a mortgage, you have built up a massive financial safety net. A paid-off home is an absolute game changer in retirement. Think about it. If you completely eliminate your monthly housing payment, the amount of money you actually need to survive each month drops like a rock. You do not need a massive 401k balance if your living expenses are incredibly low. And even if you do not want to stay in your current house forever, that home equity is still working for you. You have the absolute freedom to sell that large family home, downsize into a beautiful, smaller place that requires far less maintenance, and put the leftover cash right into your pocket to fund your retirement lifestyle. So before you let a single account balance ruin your day, zoom out. Look at your Social Security. Look at your spouse's accounts and any forgotten pensions. Look at the equity sitting inside your home. When you finally put all of those puzzle pieces together, you will likely realize that your financial foundation is incredibly strong, and you are far more prepared for this next chapter than you ever gave yourself credit for. Even after looking at the big picture, factoring in your Social Security and counting your home equity, you might still run the numbers and feel like you are coming up short. If you are officially behind on your savings goals, do not panic. Here are 3 immediate, incredibly simple action steps you can take today to get right back on track. Action step number 1 is the 1% nudge. Earlier, we talked about that massive $35,750 super catch-up limit for 2026. Hearing a number that large can honestly feel paralyzing. You might be thinking, I do not have an extra $10,000 lying around to put into my 401k. And that is completely okay. You absolutely do not need to max out that limit to make a difference. Instead, go to your employer portal today and simply increase your current contribution by just 1 or 2%. If you are saving 5% right now, bump it to 6%. It is such a tiny change that you likely will not even feel it in your next paycheck. But the mathematical magic of compound interest over the next 5 to 10 years is huge. That tiny 1% nudge will work silently in the background, growing your wealth without changing your current lifestyle. Action step number 2 is understanding the financial superpower of just one more year. When people feel behind, they often think they need to win the lottery or find a magical investment to catch up. But the mathematically proven best way to fix a retirement shortfall is simply delaying your retirement date by 12 to 24 months. Working just one extra year provides an unbelievable triple benefit to your finances. First, it gives you 12 more months to shovel money into your savings. Second, it means you have one less year of draining your portfolio to pay for your living expenses. And finally, delaying your retirement by a single year guarantees a permanently higher monthly payout from Social Security for the rest of your life. That one extra year of work can completely change the trajectory of your entire retirement. Action step number 3 is to quickly check your asset allocations. When folks realize they are behind, they usually make one of two massive mistakes. First, they let fear take over and move all of their money into cash or stable value funds. While cash feels safe, inflation will silently eat away your buying power over time. The second mistake is the exact opposite. People panic and start taking reckless risks in the stock market, hoping for a massive return to make up for lost time. You do not want to gamble your life savings. If you are not sure how to safely invest your money right now, keep it incredibly simple. Look into something called a target date fund. You simply pick the fund with the year closest to when you plan to retire, like 2030 or 2035. The fund automatically does all the heavy lifting for you. It keeps your money growing while gently reducing your risk as you get older. It is the perfect hands-off solution to make sure your money is working exactly as hard as you are. Taking these 3 simple steps today will put you back in the driver's seat of your financial future. Retirement is not a competition. It is not about beating the median American numbers we talked about. And it is definitely not about trying to match whatever the neighbor down the street has sitting in his investment portfolio. Your retirement is completely unique to you. It is simply about funding your specific lifestyle and your personal dreams. For some, that might mean packing your bags and traveling the globe to see brand new places. For others, it might mean having the quiet, uninterrupted time to tend to your backyard garden, volunteer in your local community, or just relax on the porch and spoil your grandkids. Whatever your dream looks like, that is your true target number, not some arbitrary milestone printed in a scary financial headline. After sitting down and looking at these brand new 2026 numbers and rules together, how are you feeling? Do you feel a massive sense of relief knowing that those average numbers were skewed by billionaires? Or do you feel a fresh wave of motivation to log into your employer portal and bump up your savings rate? Whatever your answer, remember to stay smart, keep moving forward, and take care of your future self.